Do you want to contribute more to your team? Just be an all around better player and hit shots just like this?
They're up here. Broke one. Down. Broke the other.
Finish him. Finish him.
Broke the other.
Top of this hill.
I broke that kid running in. I knocked that kid coming in. That was fucking 350 meters break knock. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It is Nick here from Midwest Gaming Republic. I am back with another But Honest video. For those of you that are not familiar with the But Honest series, the But Honest series is a weekly video series that I do here on Midwest Gaming Republic, where I take a look and discuss a variety of different gaming topics all across the board. And for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Nick, and I have been competitively gaming for over 15 years. So for this episode of But Honest, we're going to be talking, how do you get better at hitting your shots?
Just hit your shots, kid. It's quite simple. Do you want to get good? Yes, then I want to get good, then hit your shots, kid.
And the first topic in this video series that I'm going to be doing over the next couple episodes of But Honest, we're going to be talking first here about sensitivity. And boy, have I been waiting to talk about this topic for a number of weeks now. I play with a variety of different guys. It doesn't matter if they're on console. It doesn't matter if you're on mouse and keyboard. This information is going to be absolutely applicable across the entire board. And it's not really a But Honest. It's more like a truth rage, because I need people to listen to me. And by listening to me, I can almost guarantee, but never promise, that you will get better almost instantaneously at hitting your shots. Now, you can feel free to take whatever path you want, do whatever you want, doesn't matter to me. But when you can do this super duper fast, your sensitivity is too high. So you do whatever you want to do, but if you actually want to get better and improve your skills and hit more shots, all you need to do is start by turning your sensitivity down. Turn it down. Turn it off. I don't even want you to be able to look left or right or up or down. The days of 1v1 Rust sniper battles where you're doing a 720, where you're looking like frickin' Tony Hawk out there, are done. We want to be better players. So if we want to be better players, let's learn what it takes. What should I be looking for? And what sensitivity do I play on? And with all this information, you should be able to glean what the right sensitivity is for you. Now, I've done quite a bit of research about sensitivity, and I have even more practical experience about it. I have now been a full-time mouse and keyboard player for probably about the past year and a half or so. But previous to that, I have been, before I can even remember, but dating back to roughly about 2006 is when the first time on PlayStation 2 playing SOCOM, if you're familiar, shout out. But this is really where I kind of transitioned my mindset from just playing casually to trying to just take it to a little bit more of an elevated level. And with all of this experience and all of this background and knowledge and kind of in this subject in particular, I have learned that faster is not better when it comes to aiming. And let me explain to you why. Now, there's kind of three main components, especially when we're talking about FPSs, just shooter genre in general. Now, there's kind of three phases of fighting. There's close up, where let's just use Warzone for an example, since it's such a popular game at this time. We're talking inside 10, 15 meters. Then there's kind of your medium kind of ranged battles where it's like 15 to like maybe 75. And then there's a little bit more long range, 75 plus meter type of firefights. And it's not profound by any means, but clearly the further away something is, the more precise you have to be, whether you're on analog sticks, whether you're using your mouse and keyboard. It's increasingly difficult the further it goes that you're going to be likely to hit your shot. And it's going to vary depending on the genre, whether you're playing a hit scan, whether there's bullet drop involved. And yes, some of it is just feel and reps, but more times than not, you need to be extremely cognizant of where are my firefights happening and how often am I getting into these situations. And by practical background and experience, like I said, across several genres of several titles, it's very rare are you going to, if you're positioning correctly, going to be gunned down in the back. If you're rotating appropriately, if you're playing intelligently, very rarely are you going to need to 180 on a dime more times than not. And as you want to be able to turn quickly in the instance that it does happen, because it does happen regularly. But what we're really focused on here is consistency. And to become more consistent, the best thing to do is to start slow. So by starting slow and by lowering down your sensitivity, gradually we'll be able to be a little bit more consistent because we're not going to be making as many micro corrections. And often what you'll see in the biggest contributor for missing your shots is that you're overcorrecting or undercorrecting. And I have practiced and put this to use several times. I use a software from Steam by the name of Kovac, and in there it gives you several scenarios, and there's several different applications where you can essentially test your flicks, which is one type of shooting, and tracking, which is another type of shot. So one essentially is where you're quickly snapping onto targets, and the other is essentially where you're trying to mirror or mimic the type of movements that the enemy is doing. Now, pivoting back to the conversation when I mentioned that there's essentially three ranges. You have your close up, you have your medium to middle, you have your long range type of firefights, and ultimately, to become as well rounded as possible, what we're looking to do is find that happy medium between the ability to be consistent at a long range, but also be able to be quick enough to pivot and look laterally left and right. Like I said, in the instance that there is a team behind you, you want to still be able to pivot and look behind and engage if you need to, or ultimately, probably you're going to be looking to escape left or right. So the balance is to find the between range where you're consistent enough at long range, but you're also very able to engage depending on, where they are kind of when they're like in your face essentially. Now, to share some perspective about the sensitivity that I use, so with a mouse and keyboard, what you'll typically see with players is somewhere between 400 to 800 DPI. If you need to be more precise, if you're playing a game like CSGO, maybe you want to drop your DPI to about 400. But I would say for your average FPS shooter game, you're probably going to want to be around 800 DPI. And essentially, DPI is just how far you have to move your mouse for the cursor to essentially move across the screen, to simplify it. And then there's also, in addition, your in-game sensitivity. So your average player is going to be playing between 400 to 800 DPI. And if you want to change that, there's typically, show on here, there's typically these two buttons. And obviously down lowers the amount of DPI and up increases the amount of DPI. And you can essentially find what DPI you're playing at by looking in the software that your mouse has provided you. So see where you're at, give that some consideration. And if you're finding yourself having difficulties hitting consistently, regardless of the range, consider lowering it. And then for some perspective about in-game sensitivity, I play Warzone very regularly. It's kind of become the cornerstone in addition to Overwatch at what I stream. And I play around a 4 to 4.5 sensitivity at 800 DPI on all of those games. Now, pivoting to controllers, like I said, this is something that I had to learn a long time ago. I was the guy that thought you had to ramp your sensitivity up. You had to fricking look like you were going to break a world record for the amount of rotations. You thought I was trying to hit a triple sow cow. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a professional ice skater. I'm just trying to be really good at video games. And I would say that my, oh gosh, horizontal and my vertical sensitivities were different. My horizontal sensitivities, and for people who are like, what does that mean? I will insert that clip right now. Like a scale of like 1 to 20, I play on like a 6 sensitivity. And usually my vertical sensitivity is usually
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
a little bit slower than my, just did that backwards. This one, horizontal, vertical. As you can see, I had a little bit of issues figuring it out in a previous video, but my horizontal sensitivity is typically a little bit faster than my vertical sensitivity. The reasoning for that, and it's usually like a 0.5 to like 1, I guess, level or sensitivity difference. It's just typically my swivel is a little bit different than my need to like be precise up and down because it's a little bit more challenging to hit. But I was playing somewhere around like a 5 to a 6 out of a 20 scale, and I think that that's kind of the average margin. So it's like probably somewhere around a 25-ish%, a little bit more, 30% of the overall sensitivity speed that is available and offered to you. Now, how do I know if I'm even within the right realm of accuracy? Well, for me, typically what I would say for, let's say, a game like Overwatch where I'm playing a hit scan character. Now, it's going to vary. It's going to look different. But for a character like McCree that is a single shot, hit scan specific character, if I'm not somewhere between 45 to 55%, that's anything lower is a tremendously bad game. Like, you should be kind of within the sweet spot of hitting almost every other or hitting more than every other shot. Now, granted, when you switch to a fully automatic game, when you're playing something more like a Warzone, 30 to 35% of your shots, I would say, is pretty standard. If you can be higher than that, you're probably shredding. So look for something in that general realm. But also, too, it's kind of just a feel thing. If you know that you're like, man, I wish I could be a little bit more consistent, just tweak it, turn it down. And if you're like, God, like I can't turn and see the guy on my right, then just gradually increase it. But before you increase your sensitivity, consider that maybe it's more of your positioning. Just make sure that you're constantly hitting shots you should hit. And if you're not hitting the obvious shots you should hit, then your sensitivity is likely too high for you. So that is all for this episode of But Honest, talking about sensitivity and making you a better or handsome contributing or pretty if you're a girl, because there's gamer girls, person, awesome dude. Now, if you're not subscribed, make sure to do that. If you haven't hit the like, make sure to do that as well. And once again, my name is Nick from Midwest Gaming Republic. I stream almost daily, all under Midwest Gaming Republic. So make sure to drop by the Twitch if you are interested in that. All of the links to the socials will be down below. But we will be back next week for another episode. Good night.